This is Stories, Lies, and Shenanigans, and you know the drill. That's right, this is the place where you're gonna hear me, that exciting dude, or Ted, with Stories, Lies, and Shenanigans. Thanks for joining. But everyone that's been here, that's been listening for a hot minute, knows the drill. It is time for the podcast intro. So again, welcome to Stories, Lies, and Shenanigans. I am your captain speaking, that exciting dude, or as some people call me, Ted. But, you know what to do. Let's hit the follow button. Let's share this. You know, whatever it is on whatever platform you're listening. Oh, speaking of platforms, you are hearing me on one of these platforms. Either Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Deezer, Castbox, Podchaser, YouTube, and finally Apple. Yes, I'm finally on Apple. That's a long story for another day. Yes. But before we get started and rolling and going and shooting, and not really shooting, but you know, I'm shooting from the mouth and rolling and talking with my words, and you get it. Lastly, we need to give thanks to the artist Brock Hewitt with Stories and Sound, with his soundbite called Ages Ago. And the artist called Heartman Paradise. His song or soundbite is called Paradise Island. And then the last person, he calls himself Tropicana, or it's what his group is called. And his soundbite is called Sound Roll. All of these are from Uppbeat.com. UPPBAT.com. I don't put all the thanks to this person, you know, in my description. So that's why I put it in the intro. And after this background music, I will go through the Ages Ago, Paradise Island, and the Sound Roll. Probably not in that order, as I see it is not in that order. But you will get those three coming up after this background music. Alright. Let's talk about sports. Probably helps if I get my notes up for today. That's half the battle of having a very good keeping the flow going. If you ever hear me go sip, and then you're going to hear a good little pause, it's because I'm taking a drink. But today we got two beverages. To the left is the good old agua. And to the right, not sponsored, not entitled to say this. I am just choosing to say this out of my own goodwill and faith. But I am having a high noon tequila seltzer, strawberry flavored, 0 sugar, very little carbs, 4.5% alcohol. Just having a little drink. That's all. Alright, everybody. It's time to put it to the test. Drink. Alright. I do have a little bit of a cough. So this will be a very fun podcast. Alright, it's time to get with the sports. If you don't like sports, skip ahead. Oof. There's a lot to talk about in the sports. So if you don't like to talk about sports, I'm sorry for you. I'm going to say skip about 6 minutes ahead. Maybe I don't know. I'll say 6 to 8 minutes. What's the time on the board? 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Alright, here we go. First in sports, we're going to talk about the college football. On Saturday, this past Saturday, the 10th. Hold on a second. That would be the 9th. There was only one college game, and that was Army versus the Navy. And the Army beat the Navy by a score of 17-10. There was the Heisman later that tonight. I have no clue what happened in that, because part of the podcast is I'm going to talk about what went on this weekend for that exciting dude. So, moving on to the NFL, Thursday's night's game of last week was a surprise. It was on Amazon Prime, as all of the Thursday games are, and the New England Patriots beat the Steelers by a score, the Pittsburgh Steelers by a score of 21-28. Sometimes I tend to not be able to talk. It happens. Moving on to Sunday's games, the 10th. My beloved Lions, I got to witness in person in the cold bleachers of Soldier Stadium in the great city of Chicago, the Windy City. Okay, it was cold. My Lions lost to the Bears. The score was 28-13. From the couch comes quarterback Joe Flacco. He saved the Browns, got them the W to win over the Jacksonville Jaguars by a score of 31-27. And that was the Cleveland Browns over the Jacksonville Jaguars. Then there was a very lackluster game. That was Sunday evening. And that was versus the Vikings and the Raiders. I need to learn to write the full name down for those that don't know the full name. That would be the Minnesota Vikings and the Las Vegas Raiders. The whole game, hold on a sec. I'm sure that still went well into the mic even though I was away from it. The game went like 57 minutes, and a game is 60 minutes, so 3 minutes. I don't know the exact timing, but all I know is in like the last 2 minutes, there was finally a field goal made by the Vikings. So they won the game by a score of 3-0. That's like a hockey score. That's a soccer score. That is not a football score, but apparently on Sunday it was. The Cowgirls beat the Philly Eagles 33-13. That would be the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. Then yesterday, Monday, brought some thrilling games as well. The Tennessee Titans beat the Miami Dolphins by a score of 28-27. I did watch a little bit of, like, a squeeze of this game, but not enough to really be like, yep. And I didn't watch all the way to the end because I was in bed well before this ended. Both of the Monday night games, to be honest with you. Then there was 2 Monday night games, and the second one was against the New York Giants and the Green Bay Packers. And the New York Giants beat the Green Bay Packers 24-22. Oof. 2 teams that definitely should have won, which were the Dolphins and Green Bay Packers, did not win. But that's what happens. Alright, moving on to NHL. As I mentioned, Patrick Kane got picked up by my beloved Red Wings, and he started playing. He started on Thursday night's game, which I forgot who they played last week. But all I know is since he's been in the lineup, they've lost. They've had a few L's. So hopefully tonight's game, I think they're playing tonight. You know what, we're going to quickly check if they are playing tonight or not. They are playing. They're actually playing right now against the Blues in St. Louis. So hopefully they can put a W on the board. In the NBA, look it up. Alright. And that's a wrap for the sports. What did we spend? We're at 9:30. That was almost, 5 minutes? I think it was, 4:30 is when I rolled over to sports. As I mentioned earlier, I had a weekend in the greater Chicago area / Chicago. I was south of Chicago. And a buddy and I from work, we went to Chicago greater area Saturday evening. Made it to the area. First we checked into our hotel, which it was a good place to stay, but I don't know if I would stay there again. And now I didn't feel like unsafe by the place. Although talk about unsafe, believe it or not. It wasn't until later in the evening, but the bed broke. It became the leaning tower of the bed for me. Which, I mean, once it happened, I went down to the desk and told them, and we got a new room. But yeah, that was kind of funny. Because I was already sitting on the bed for like an hour between eating pizza and watching, I think we're watching the news or we're watching like Border Patrol or something, just killing the night. And I finally leaned over to the right to put I can't remember what, I was like putting something on the nightstand, and all suddenly it just went and I was like, oh, this is fun. Drink. Yeah, that was kind of that was fun. Not really though. This is gonna get annoying. So yeah, but the first thing we did was we checked into the hotel, and then I wanted to check out a few sports shops, sports card shops to be exact. So we hit up two places. And the first place that we hit up was very dingy and dungeony, and you walked in and there just wasn't a lot of room, but there was a lot to look at. It was very overwhelming. I mean, and I've been in card shops like this before. You get two styles of card shops. You either get these dingy, everything's packed like a sardine, or you get these very clean, well thought out card shops. And yeah, you know, we made a few passes in this first shop, and you know, I was kind of eyeballing a little bit of the hockey, a little bit of the football. I really was gravitating towards a particular set of NFL, which I knew I was going to spend a little bit of money if I found it, and I was ready to spend the money, but I'm glad I didn't find it, because I don't know if I really want to. But, you know, we looked around. I mean, being in Chicago, the greater Chicago area, obviously, you know, in baseball, you saw a lot of the White Sox and Cubs players. Hockey, a lot of the Blackhawks players. And then football, you know, a lot of the Bears. You know, it tends to go like that wherever you go for your sports shops. Card shops, that is. And they do have all your other stars and players, but, you know, they have a good section of their the home teams of that state. And so we got done at this first place. We probably spent maybe 20 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. I'd say about 15, maybe a 20. And you know, we got in the car, and it's funny because my buddy, like, I know he probably hasn't been to a ton of sports card shops like I have, but he kind of had the same idea. He was kind of like, I was like really packed. And I was like, yeah, it was. Got something right there in that tickle spot. Ugh, this is gonna be Henderson for the podcast. But moving along, so finally, you know, I googled the next card shop. You know, and it was like, I don't know, a couple miles away. We made it over to this other card shop that had like zero front entrance action to it. But you stepped into this place, and oh my good lord, it was just immaculate, like you couldn't believe. The space was huge. Everything was just well organized on shelves behind the glass shadow, or the cases where you could look down and look at all your sports cards, which you normally are all your big cards. They had two good big shelves in the center, like an island. They were probably like 4 feet long. So it was in a box, with some like big memorabilia pieces, like autographed bats, baseball, full size football helmets. Signed by big name people too, or basketballs. And then again, you get to your sections of your sports. Baseball, huge amount of baseball. Good section of football. Awesome section of the hockey. They actually had a very good section with Star Wars. Then Pokemon. And then there was another whole section that was just dedicated to vintage. It was like 90. It was like 91 and earlier, and they had a bunch of packs, which was really cool. And again, in this particular shop, I probably spent about the same amount of time, maybe a squeeze longer. I was looking at the Michael Jordan rookies that he had, for like $17,000. It's like, yeah, no, thank you, but it's good to oogle and drink. He had a couple, he had a Rudy helmet from Notre Dame. There's a lot of cool stuff. And so again, I was kind of eye-spying in my football. I was like, oh, do I want to get this? Do I want to get that? Ooh, over here's hockey. Do I want to get some of my hockey? Here's some of this. Oh, it's only this year or these years. Or, oh, he's got a lot of this. Do I want to? Nah, we'll pass. And I just kept playing this game, and found that I just went to the vintage section, and I was like, oh. And what I thought was really cool about this store is most of the time, you'll see vintage packs, and you see it's like 1984. Let's say hockey or whatever, and you got to think like, oh, who do I collect in 1984? So you gotta sit there and get on your phone, and Google, okay, who were the rookies of 1984? What was cool about this place is they had cards in the packs of all the different years of who you're looking for in these packs. So they basically told you, boom, who you're looking for, this person and this. Which I thought was really cool. I'm like, that is awesome. I mean, they're helping you out already. I'm like, that is sweet. So I got one pack of 1988 tops. Basically, I was searching for Brendan Shanahan's rookie year. Maybe it was 87. I got 3 different packs. I got a 91, I think at 88, and an 87. Came to, between the 3 packs, it came to like $50. And didn't get anybody that I really wanted. I mean, I got some old Gretzky's, a couple Mario Lemieux, but didn't hit any of them. Of the chasers, as they are called. When you're looking for that one person or that rookie card, it's called the chaser. And didn't get it, but I tried. But it was fun. So we get done at the card shop. We finally ordered the pizza, which I knew was going to take some time to order. So we ordered the Chicago style deep dish pizza because my buddy has never had it before. Because it was also his first time in Chicago. Well, the greater Chicago, but we're getting to Chicago. So, it was like the plan going down there was, yeah, you gotta get this. So, it was about 50 minutes to wait for them to cook the pizza. So, there was a Big Lots store next to the sports card shop. So, we killed a little time in the Big Lots. And, pretty much went down every aisle, even the ones that we really didn't need to go down to, if you know what I'm saying. But, we killed about a good half hour there. Took about a good 20 minutes to get to the pizza place. Rolled in, waited about another 5 minutes. Then we picked it up and went back to the hotel. We get back to the hotel, get up to our room, and the pizza was not cut. And if anyone knows what Chicago style pizza looks like, you need to Google it right now if you don't. Because A, it is thick, it is tall, and it's not like a normal pizza where, hold on. Where, you could just, kind of tear it, and you could make do without a pizza cutter. Chicago style pizza, you cannot do that with. Not at all. But luckily, across the highway, but near the, just, less than a mile away, was a good old Walmart. So we got in the car and quickly went to Walmart, got a pizza cutter, and then came back and we cut the pizza. And, let me tell you, it was delicious. So to describe what a Chicago style deep dish pizza is you have a thick crust. I don't know what the thickness is. I don't know what the exact measurements. We'll just say put up your finger and just go to your first line. We'll just say it's that thick. It's not that thick, but we'll just say it is to go with something. Then they have a very thick layer of mozzarella cheese at the very bottom. And I think they cook that first, because I feel like, because then they have your toppings, which traditional is, I don't know, everyone has their own, this is how it goes, you do this, you do that. We basically got what they called their traditional. We didn't get the mushrooms because the little boy that I was with didn't like mushrooms. But we got green pepper, onion, and sausage. And, and it's like on top of that bottom layer of cheese. So that's what I'm thinking. They kind of like cook that cheese layer first. Then they put the toppings in. More cheese. And then it's like a good layer of sauce on top. Then they cook it. More, most likely. I really don't know the process of the cooking. I'm just guesstimating. But yeah, so then basically when you look at the top of it, it looks like it's just like a sauce, like a huge crust filled with sauce, but there's more to that goodness than just that sauce on top. It is good. It is gooey. And it was still hot when we got back to it. I mean, it was like a good warm. I mean, I shouldn't say like it was piping hot, but, it was good. It was still very good. Like I said, then, we each had 2 very good custom cut slices. Sat on that bed. Broke the bed. I didn't break the bed. I'm going to say Chicago style pizza broke the bed. And I'm sticking with that. Then we got a new room. Boom. Got right back into it. Got the pizza back in the fridge. Got back to the channel. We're watching, like I said, Border Patrols. And all the idiots that, take the bags from strangers of, here, deliver these drugs to this person for me. Don't worry about customs. They won't find you. That show. Drink. So then the next morning we woke up and really didn't have too much of a breakfast. I mean, I had an apple, granola bar, and a banana, muffin. Muffin. Do you know the Muffin Man? And what else did I? I had a yogurt. We made it to Chicago. It was about, it was about a half-hour drive, 40-minute drive north straight north. We get to our parking area that I reserved. Now, in the app, when I made the reservation, when I was buying this spot through this app, I talked about how, some of these places do get full, and you gotta call this number, which I still haven't called the number, so I'm just calling it, I'm done with it. I'm just calling it that I lost that money, which was $45. But besides the point, I talked about it, how it could be full. So we get in this parking ramp, garage, go all the way to the top. There was a lot of sweet cars in this garage. There was a lot of money in this garage, if you know what I'm saying. No spots. So we leave. Quickly find a spot. Try to call the number. No one was answering. Finally, I'm like, screw this. I go, let's just get another spot and locked and loaded before we're like really out and like we're really blocks away from the stadium. So get landed, get in another lot, which was probably 3 or 4 blocks down. It was near the art museum. And before we headed that direction, we got a few shots of some alcohol in us, some Screwball whiskey, which is it was good. I mean, I'm not a huge hard alcohol person. I'm more of a beer person, but it was good stuff. I can't just go shot like he can. That is just not me. But I had 2 shots. 2 shots, I think it was. Or was it 2.5? No, I had a half of one, so I had him at 2.5. I think it was 2.5 is what I had. He had like 3 or 4 shots. Boom. Get that warmth. We got all our cold gear, weather geared up. Hats, gloves. And, started walking towards the stadium. We got to the stadium. It was a good time. It was easy to get in. The way they funneled people through the park of Chicago. I'm just going to, for the lack of what the real park is called, I'm going to call it their Chicago's quote-unquote Central Park. You go through the south side of it. And there's like these paths that, lead to the path that they want you to get to the stadium. It goes right by the Field Museum. You can wave, to next to it to the Sheds Museum. Or the Sheds Aquarium, I mean. Not Sheds Museum. And, so it was fun. You walk around it, then boom, there's the stadium. You walk in. There was hardly any line, but we were also like a good hour and 20 minutes early, which does help. We walk in, a bunch of beer guys were trying to sell us beer, and then finally we stopped at one. I was like, how much is it? And I was just like, it's only $10 for a beer? Most stadiums, the same can of beer, it's like $20, $25. And I'm like, $10 a can? So we ended up getting a beer, too. I mean, you really couldn't go wrong. I mean, is it still like something you want to go and get like 10 beers? No. But, just to quickly get something. I mean, it's almost better than the local stadium. I mean, it is actually better than the local stadium. Local stadium, I think you only get like a 12 ouncer and it's like $16. These were 20 ounces and it was $10. And it was a craft beer too that I got. And yeah, you couldn't go wrong. So, so we ended up getting it. Got a hot dog. And then we sat in our seats. We were at the upper section, but the first row. And we watched the game. Had somewhat of a good time because, we did. Our team did lose. We did leave a little bit early. We left with like 5 minutes, something like that, left on the board. Drink. Yeah, we left early, so we walked back to the car. And yeah, we hustled back to the car. Like, I mean, it wasn't like we were like sprinting and running, but we definitely got back to the car in a good, quick fashion. And it was a good thing that I backed into our spot versus just pulling, because it was so easy to pull out and to get out on the main road of Chicago's and make it to the highway to start heading home. And we were gonna hit up this Hispanic restaurant, but we just kept on rolling all the way to Michigan City, which is still in Indiana, and that's the nearest White Castle to us where we live in Michigan. So we hit up the White Castle, which was the one that I go to, is connected with a speedway in Michigan City. So I filled up on gas, and we got our White Castle, and then we rolled on home. And weather was good for the most part. There was a little sleet action here and there, a little cold rain, a little bead rain, like it was trying to freeze. But we made it home. We made it home in a good time. It was good. It was a good weekend, despite the L that the Detroit Lions gave us. But I had a good time, regardless of the outcome. And I'm sure my buddy would agree and say the same thing. So that was the weekend for going to the game. Let's see, I got a couple of things to talk about. So along with the trip, we're going to talk about a headline title. Well, I looked a little bit into this article, took a couple notes on it. It's near the tail end, it really started to filter off, so I've kind of kept it to the meat of the story. I took this from the Navy Times, and let me read you the title of this, since I do still have it up. Alright, so the title of this story that now we're going to move on to, and we're going to talk to, we're going to talk about, Navy destroyer Mason aids a commercial ship struck by a missile in the Red Sea. So yeah, on December 11th, a commercial ship was attacked, and again in the Red Sea, and it was by the Houthi rebel group of Yemen, and what they used was a anti-ship missile. It was launched, and it struck the motor tanker Strinda. Strinda? Strinda was the name of the tanker. And I guess they called for Mayday. They called for help for the nearest military vessel that could aid to them. The USS Mason responded to the distress call that the Strinda made. After their attack on them was made from this missile, there was no no casualties were reported. It didn't talk about any injuries. It didn't talk about, the ship sinking or being sunk or taking on a huge amount of water. So it makes you wonder how effective this missile really was. Not that I'm saying that I want it to be super effective. No. I mean, it's a good thing that it sounds like everyone was alive, everyone avoided disaster. And it was just a very scary situation, I'm sure, for everyone on board the Strinda. So the USS Mason responded. They did whatever the Navy does in helping the commercial vessels in the area do. I'm sure the personnel went on board, probably made sure everyone was okay. If anyone needed medical attention, I'm sure they assisted. Any repairs to the ship, I'm sure they probably didn't tell them what to, they made sure everything was probably kosher, and then moved on to, whatever their next, thoughts of what to do in the area is. But, but the area that, this USS Mason is patrolling and seems to be, I've heard this particular vessel with a lot of these articles of a lot of these commercial vessels being attacked. And where this part is it's like they said the Red Sea, but really it's this whole south part of where Yemen is, like the Straits of Hormuz all the way around the bend of, like, I think it's Saudi Arabia reaches there, then you got Yemen. I feel like there's another country in there that I'm totally not saying, and I'm totally trying to get the maps up and getting over there. Okay, so pretty much now that I'm looking at the map, so yeah, basically that Horn area where Yemen is, and the Gulf of Aden, and then the Red Sea. Something just chimed in my ear from the computer, and I have no idea what happened. We're still good here. Countdown is still going. We're still good. Okay, that was very weird. So back to what I was talking about. So yeah, they're in probably the Gulf of Aden. I know this. It's the Arabian Sea. So I wanted to say Indian, but I knew it wasn't the Indian yet. I knew there was a different sea right there because I've been in that sea. But I bet the Gulf of Aden to the Red Sea, is very. A lot of rebels and pirates are in that area, especially off of Yemen. With a lot of just the pirates taking over all the commercial vessels that are using the canal there to get through to the Mediterranean. I know another hotbed, totally totally left field from this article, but it's the Horn of Africa. I believe, I don't think it's like South Africa, but I think it's like where Ghana, Liberia, Guinea-Bissau, I think it's like that area is very pirate struck on the African coast. But basically, then it went on again to talk about all these other attacks that have been happening, with November and the USS Mason, aiding to all these others. So it sounds like the USS Mason is more playing a humanitarian role with the commercial vessels and helping them be safe. And, I just did that one. And, just basically keep trying their best to keep the area safe of all the pirates. And it did talk about how, the USS Mason has shot down like several drones, which are probably playing like a reconnaissance for what vessels are out on the ocean. Because some of these drones, you can go some miles with these drones. I know the drone that I want to get, the DJI Mini 3 Pro, I think it'd go like 5 miles before you lose. And a message popped up from a buddy. But yeah, these drones, they can go forever. So I'm sure they're using, and I'm not saying that they are using DJI drones. I'm just, in general, saying there's a lot of these drones out there that can go some distance, and still have your visual feed back to the controller. All right, let's see. Is there anything else to talk about? As I was very quickly preparing for this podcast, I do have another section, but you know what? I'm going to save this for next week, if it works out. If not, this is a good topic to bring up later. But before we leave, there's one thing that I didn't talk about. So, a good friend, this individual showed me a song. And this song is by Scooter, and it's How Much Is the Fish? So I'm going to ask you this question. Now, this person found the answer, showed me the answer, but we're going to kind of see if, other than this person, I'm going to ask you the question. How much is the fish? But to listen to this song, like I said, it is by Scooter. It's called How Much Is the Fish? You know, find it. I'm sure it's on YouTube. I don't know for sure, but I know it's on Spotify because that's where I've been listening to it. I encourage you to look it up because I just think it's funny of how much is the fish. And, you know, I mean, it kind of goes along with what does the fox say? You know, we still don't know what the fox says. Is it was it like 6? Like all those noise where it goes like ding, 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 or hati, 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 ho? You know, is it all those sounds? Like, what does the fox say? Do we know? Will we ever know? All right, you know the drill. Share this. Refer this. Comment on YouTube. You know, I didn't even do my usual thing in the beginning. Well, you know what? It's better late than never. You can find me on YouTube, which if you want to respond to any, since I don't have an email address attached to this podcast, you can leave a message at, let me get some background music going. You can drop me a message on YouTube, because all these do get uploaded to my YouTube, which is that Exciting Dude at YouTube. Just search it. You'll see my funky picture in a pink hat, cowboy hat. There's more to that story. If I haven't already told it. I don't think I have told it. Maybe I have told it. I don't know. But anyhow, long story short, you can leave a message under this podcast, because all these podcasts, like I said, get automatically uploaded to YouTube as they are getting released on your favorite platform. That was from the beginning, assuming one of those is your favorite platform. And the reason why I mention all the platforms is because maybe you listen at one platform, but it's kind of like not exactly your go-to platform. And it's like maybe you have a different platform that's more of your go-to, and it's like, oh, he's on here too. And then you can change over to the platform that you like. So that's why I definitely like to keep the diversity out there. To help you guys out listening in one place to all of your music, podcast, and whatever else. So this is That Exciting Dude. You just got done listening to Stories, Lies, and Shenanigans, and you know the drill. This is That Exciting Dude, and peace.